You are sitting at the head of the table. The data has been reviewed, the advisors have spoken, and now the room is quiet. The final, unrepeatable choice rests entirely on your shoulders. In these high-pressure moments, our brains naturally default to intuitive, rapid judgment. But this System 1 thinking is highly vulnerable. It gets easily corrupted by your fatigue at the end of the day, your current mood, or invisible anchoring biases that skew your perception of risk. To defend against these human errors, modern leaders have built a fortress. We relentlessly gather more data, run another algorithm, and enforce rigid protocols. We try to scrub out all random variability, aiming for a sterile state of zero noise. But there is a catch. When you rely solely on gathering information to eliminate every ounce of uncertainty, the sheer volume of data becomes overwhelming. The fear of making a wrong choice kicks in, and you freeze. You fall into analysis paralysis. This happens because we make a philosophical error. We treat leadership like a technical manual, what the Greeks called techne. We assume that if we just acquire the right measurable skills and follow the perfect rules, success is mathematically guaranteed. Yet human existence cannot be reduced to a spreadsheet. The endless quest for perfect data strips away your flexibility and your agency. You simply cannot calculate your way into a courageous decision. To make sound choices, you do need your brain's manual mode, analytic type 2 thinking. This requires you to intentionally slow down your decision-making process and apply structured deliberation. This maps the process of decision hygiene. Using deliberate guidelines and checklists forces your brain out of bias defaults, organizing the chaos. This rigorous filtering washes away poor judgment, like mood swings and anchoring biases, leaving a clean, validated picture of reality. However, analytic logic has a hard boundary. It is purely observational. Type 2 thinking can only ever tell you what is. It cannot tell you what you should actually do about it. If you rely completely on this analytic system, you end up leaning entirely on rigid rules. This leads to a mechanical way of living, completely stripped of human nuance and adaptability. Type 2 thinking makes a brilliant investigator. It gathers the facts, structures the options, and clears away the noise. But it lacks the capacity to act as the judge. Once the investigator has done its job and the data runs out, another gear must take the wheel: phronesis, or practical wisdom. While your analytic mind asks what is true universally, practical wisdom asks a sharper question: what is good for me in this exact, unrepeatable moment? This represents how practical wisdom operates. It unites pure reason, the facts, with your deepest values, transforming sterile options into personal commitments. This unity takes broad, universal rules and adapts them to the concrete, messy reality of your immediate situation. Victor Prince Dixon describes decision-making as the art and science of choosing consequences. Your analytic mind will help you predict those consequences with a high degree of accuracy. But practical wisdom is the actual courage required to make the selection and own the fallout. It is the only mechanism that bridges the gap between cold, paralyzed analysis and authentic, executed human action. To effectively lead, you must harmonize these two forces. Treat your analytic type 2 thinking as your relentless investigator, and let practical wisdom serve as your ultimate judge. You always start with the investigator. Use your analytic mind to ruthlessly test reality, gather your evidence, structure your options, and protect yourself from the sabotage of cognitive bias. But eventually, you reach the edge of the spreadsheet. You enter what is called the human margin, the exact space where the data ends, uncertainty remains, and true leadership begins. Do not try to outsource your final choice to an algorithm, a strict protocol, or the false safety of pure data. Instead, step directed into the human margin. Draw upon practical wisdom to courageously separate reality from illusion, aligning highest reasoning with your deepest character. Elite decision-making is not about eliminating all risk. It is the brave harmonization of rigorous analysis and deeply personal execution.